Xi Jinping, President of the People's Republic of China, a name that has been causing worry among China and its neighbors. This fear has not only been confined to China nationals, but also among its neighbors. In March 2018, China's National People's Congress abolished the two-term limit for the presidency. This given him indefinite terms to be elected president. Human rights are in danger. Border conflicts and disputes of China are at highest level since its independence. Many are attributing this phenomena will lead to World War III. Every country in this world is now carefully watching China actions. What is happening in China and in between its neighbors? Why is there so much international outcry about human rights in China? This investigation explainer video delves deeply into this topic and gives you a clear picture of what is going to happen next. At first place, I will put you facts where the China economy stands under Xi Jinping. Under Xi Jinping, China's economy grew from $8.5 trillion in 2012 to $17.8 trillion in China government invested heavily in research and development. Companies like Huawei and Tencent leading advancements in 5G, AI, and quantum computing are supported by government subsidies. So, the point here is China is moving towards self-reliant and innovative economy. It's trying to reduce dependence on foreign technology and make China superpower. Xi Jinping's ideology, often referred to as Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, revolves around several core principles designed to strengthen the Communist Party of China's, CCP, grip on power and guide the country's development. Xi strongly opposes the idea of a multi-party system, arguing that China's single-party system is superior for governance and development. He asserts that China's form of socialist democracy, although different from Western liberal democracies, is more effective and better suited to Chinese conditions. In March 2018, China's National People's Congress abolished the two-term limit for the presidency and vice presidency. Before this amendment, presidents like Hu Jintao and Jiang Zemin served 2 5-year terms each. This change allows Xi Jinping to potentially stay in power indefinitely, breaking the post-Mao norm aimed at preventing autocratic rule. Xi Jinping was re-elected as General Secretary of the CCP and Chairman of the Central Military Commission during the 20th National Congress in October 2022. Xi's third term as General Secretary and Chairman is unprecedented in recent CCP history, showcasing his strong hold over the party and military. The new Politburo Standing Committee, filled with Xi's allies, minimizes internal opposition and secures his leadership style and policies. By placing loyalists in high-ranking positions, Xi strengthened his control over the party's direction and policy-making, reducing factional disputes. China's military budget more than doubled during Xi's tenure, reaching $224 billion in 2023. The modernization and expansion of the People's Liberation Army, PLA, are crucial to the Chinese dream. Under Xi Jinping's leadership, China has invested heavily in advanced military technologies, such as stealth fighter jets, aircraft carriers, and missile systems. The goal is to transform the PLA into a world-class military force capable of defending China's interests and projecting power globally. Xi's tenure has seen a substantial increase in China's nuclear arsenal. In 2023, China is estimated to possess around 410 nuclear warheads, with projections suggesting this number could grow to 1,000 by 2030. This expansion is aimed at strengthening China's strategic deterrent and ensuring it has a credible nuclear threat in the global arena. Xi Jinping launched the Tigers and Flies campaign in 2012, soon after becoming the General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, CCP. The campaign's name signifies its broad scope, targeting both high-ranking officials, Tigers, and lower-level functionaries, Flies. This was one of Xi's first major initiatives and has since become a defining aspect of his leadership. Critics argue that the anti-corruption campaign has been used by Xi Jinping as a tool to eliminate political rivals and consolidate his power. Many of the high-profile figures targeted were political opponents or potential competitors. For example, Bo Xilai, former Chongqing party chief and rising political star, expelled from the party and sentenced to life imprisonment for bribery, embezzlement, and abuse of power. Bo was seen as a potential rival to Xi Jinping. Zhou Yongkang prosecution was seen as a move to neutralize a powerful rival and consolidate Xi's control over the security apparatus. Zhou's downfall was significant, as he was one of the most powerful officials ever to be purged in modern China. Xi Jinping's era has marked a significant tightening of information control and censorship in China. Since Xi Jinping came to power, China has tightened control over information flow within the country. This has involved rigorous monitoring and regulation of digital content to ensure that it aligns with government narratives. The aim is to maintain social stability and prevent dissent. Platforms like Google and Facebook have been blocked in China as part of Xi's internet sovereignty policy. This move limits foreign influence on Chinese cyberspace and ensures that Chinese users rely on domestic platforms, such as Baidu, WeChat, and Weibo. These platforms are easier for the government to monitor and regulate, helping to control the dissemination of information and maintain political stability. In April 2019, China extended its censorship to all versions of Wikipedia. This action removed a significant source of uncensored information, further restricting access to diverse viewpoints. By blocking Wikipedia, the government curtails the spread of information on sensitive topics like the Tiananmen Square massacre or Hong Kong protests, thus controlling historical and political narratives. By 2017, the Chinese government required telecommunications carriers to block virtual private networks, VPNs, by February 2018. VPNs were used by individuals to bypass the Great Firewall and access international internet content. The crackdown has made it difficult for people to access foreign news, social media, and other online services, and has also impacted businesses that relied on VPNs for secure international communication. By 2000, the social credit system in China uses facial recognition technology to track citizens' behavior. It monitors various aspects of life, including financial transactions, adherence to laws, and even social interactions. Those with low social credit scores may face restrictions on travel, access to certain jobs, or public services. This system aims to enforce conformity and discourage dissent by making it easier for authorities to identify and penalize individuals who engage in behavior deemed undesirable. When the virus first emerged in Wuhan in late 2019, the Chinese government, led by President Xi Jinping, faced significant criticism for its initial handling of the outbreak. Dr. Li Wenliang, an ophthalmologist in Wuhan, tried to warn his colleagues about a potential outbreak of a SARS-like virus in December 2019. He was reprimanded by local authorities and accused of spreading rumors. This delay in acknowledging the virus severity prevented timely public health measures. The Chinese government was accused of withholding crucial information about the virus from the public and international community. For instance, Chinese authorities did not notify the World Health Organization, WHO, about the virus's potential for human-to-human transmission until late January 2020, weeks after the initial cases were reported. When the Chinese government eventually locked down Wuhan on January 23, 2020, it was seen as a drastic but delayed measure. By that time, millions of people had already traveled from Wuhan to other parts of China and abroad, contributing to the global spread of the virus. Xi Jinping adopted wolf warrior diplomacy as his foreign diplomacy. The term wolf warrior diplomacy refers to China's more combative and defensive stance in international relations. The Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, is a significant part of the Chinese dream. Launched in 2013, this massive infrastructure and investment project aims to enhance global trade routes and economic integration by connecting Asia with Africa and Europe through a network of railways, highways, and sea routes. This initiative is designed to bolster China's economic influence and create new markets for Chinese goods and services. China has invested heavily in Africa, funding various infrastructure projects such as roads, railways, ports, and airports. These investments often come in the form of loans from Chinese banks to be paid at high interest rates on short repayments. In some cases, when countries are unable to repay their loans, they may be forced to cede control of key assets or infrastructure projects to Chinese entities. An often cited example is Sri Lanka's Hambantota port, which was leased to a Chinese company for 99 years after Sri Lanka could not repay its debt. The Chinese government adheres to the One China policy, which asserts that there is only one China, and Taiwan is a part of it. Xi Jinping strongly opposes any form of Taiwanese independence. The Chinese government has warned that any move towards formal independence by Taiwan would be met with military force. Under Xi Jinping's leadership, China has increased military pressure on Taiwan. Taiwan, under President Lai Ching-te, has maintained a firm stance on preserving its democratic governance and autonomy. The Taiwanese government has expressed a willingness to engage in dialogue with China, but rejects the one country, two systems model proposed by Beijing, as seen in Hong Kong. Beijing has taken steps to increase control over Hong Kong, particularly after the 2019 pro-democracy protests. In June 2020, China imposed a sweeping national security law on Hong Kong, which criminalizes acts of secession, subversion, terrorism, and collusion with foreign forces. This law has been widely criticized for undermining the autonomy and freedoms promised to Hong Kong under the one country, two systems framework. In 2021, Beijing introduced changes to Hong Kong's electoral system, ensuring that only patriots could hold office. This move significantly reduced the number of directly elected seats in the Legislative Council and increased the influence of pro-Beijing committees in selecting candidates. Western countries argue that China actions violate the commitments made under the Sino-British Joint Declaration of 1984 to implement the one country, two systems principle, allowing Hong Kong to maintain a high degree of autonomy. China claims that Tibet has been part of its territory for centuries, but Tibetans argue that they were an independent region before the Chinese invasion in 1950. The Chinese government officially incorporated Tibet in 1951. In 1959, a major uprising in Tibet was suppressed by Chinese forces, leading to the Dalai Lama fleeing to India, where he established a government in exile. The Chinese government has imposed strict controls on religious practices, targeting Tibetan Buddhism. Monasteries are closely monitored, and religious leaders are often selected by the state. Efforts to assimilate Tibetans into Chinese culture include promoting Mandarin over the Tibetan language and encouraging Han Chinese migration to Tibet. Reports from human rights organizations highlight arbitrary arrests, torture, and imprisonment of Tibetans who express dissent. The Chinese government has implemented extensive surveillance measures in Tibet, including a large security presence and monitoring of internet and communication activities. China has invested heavily in infrastructure projects in Tibet, such as railways, roads, and urban development. These projects are often presented as efforts to modernize and improve living standards. Critics argue that these developments mainly benefit Chinese interests, focusing on resource extraction and strategic advantages rather than the well-being of the Tibetan people. The 2008 protests in Tibet were met with a harsh crackdown by Chinese authorities, resulting in numerous arrests and a significant restriction on information flow about the situation in the region. Xinjiang, China, has drawn significant international attention due to reports of human rights abuses against the Uyghur Muslim population and other ethnic minorities. Xinjiang is strategically important for China due to its location along the Belt and Road Initiative (BRI) routes, which are key to China's global trade ambitions. The region is also rich in natural resources, including oil, natural gas, and minerals, making it economically significant. Xinjiang is home to a significant population of Uyghurs, a Turkic ethnic group with a distinct culture, language, and religion, predominantly Islam. The region has a history of tension and conflict, partly due to cultural and religious differences, as well as economic disparities. The Chinese government has implemented a range of policies in Xinjiang that they claim are aimed at combating extremism and promoting stability. These policies include extensive surveillance systems, including facial recognition technology and police checkpoints, have been established across the region. Reports indicate that in detention camps over 1 million Uyghurs and other minorities have been detained in what the Chinese government describes as vocational training centers or re-education camps. Former detainees have reported harsh conditions, forced labor, and political indoctrination. Policies have been implemented to curb religious practices, such as the banning of religious attire, destruction of mosques, and restriction of fasting during Ramadan. There are also efforts to dilute Uyghur culture by promoting Mandarin Chinese and Han Chinese cultural practices. The relationship with India has been complicated by border disputes, particularly in the regions of Aksai Chin and Arunachal Pradesh. These disputes have led to military standoffs, including the significant 2017 Doklam standoff where 20 Indian soldiers died and the more recent clashes in the Galwan Valley in 2020, resulting in casualties on both sides. India has strengthened its ties with the United States, Japan, and Australia through the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, Quad, which is seen as a counterbalance to China's influence in the Indo-Pacific region. China's construction of artificial islands and military installations in disputed waters has escalated conflicts with neighboring countries and challenged international maritime laws. Chinese President Xi Jinping has reaffirmed China's territorial claims over the Senkaku/Diaoyu Islands, which are administered by Japan but claimed by China. The islands, located northeast of Taiwan, have been a long-standing point of contention, particularly since the discovery of potential oil reserves in the surrounding waters in the late 1960s. In 2023, Chinese vessels were present in the contiguous zone around the islands for a record number of days, reflecting a strategy to assert control incrementally. The situation is further complicated by Japan's involvement in the Taiwan issue, which China sees as an additional pressure point. Xi Jinping's stance aligns with a broader Chinese strategy to fortify its maritime claims, not just in the East China Sea but also in other disputed areas such as the South China Sea. This has included military expansions and increased naval activity, underscoring China's resolve to protect what it considers its sovereign territory. The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, has enforced stringent controls over religious practices, manifesting a clear pattern of religious suppression. The CCP's policy of Sinicization of religion aims to align religious practices with Chinese socialist values and the leadership of the CCP, altering religious teachings and practices to ensure they do not conflict with state ideology. In Christian communities, images of religious figures like Jesus have been replaced with portraits of Xi Jinping, symbolizing the party's dominance over religious life. Reports of government actions targeting Christian symbols, including the destruction of church crosses, burning of Bibles, and closure of churches, further illustrate this oppressive approach. Friends, this video requires time and efforts. Please encourage our team to create more explainer videos like this. Please like this video and subscribe our channel. Comment your views on this topic and share this video.